me. They couldn't say Hollie, so they called me Haha. And some people, maybe a baby is like the actual and we were like, Grammy's right here. She is right here.
Mercy.
And she wasn't. Hey, I'm Georgia.
Oh, Georgia, sorry.
How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you. Oh, she was born to Renee.
Hi. I don't ever see you guys. You don't chat he bragged about hard and telling them you gotta get out. Yeah. So, yeah, we're in 97. We see who you're living in. Manny, you're correct. You're Manny. You're for Dynasty 3. No, you're 5. Okay, so you are Evan Lynch. And then City Council, Michael Green. And 7 is going to be
I wasn't, but if I don't, I might call 3.
Are you live streaming? Right.
Okay, guys, it's 7:04. If you haven't signed in, please sign in. Your name, if you don't think we've got your email, please give us your email. Even if you think we have it, give it because the system will say we already have you. There is water and cookies in the kitchen if you want to get your snacks and everything. We're pretty excited this evening. Sorry we had to cancel last month. Sometimes grandparents takes precedent over other stuff. We had our 2.5-year-old, and I really thought I could learn to do it, and then I thought, I don't know, I can't do this. So. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get started. I'm going to ask Jimmy if you'll say the prayer, please. You know, so everyone will stand while we do the prayer.
All right, everybody bow their heads, please. Heavenly Father, I come to you today, Lord. I thank you for the opportunity to learn, to get an opportunity to spend time together, to fellowship, to be able to hear your word and hear it spoken through your people, Lord. I thank you for that, Lord. Guide our paths. Help us have a clear mind. Help us have an understanding that's even deeper than the presenter that's presenting it, Lord. Help the presenter have a deeper understanding. Work through us, Lord, so that we can have a better understanding of what we're here to hear today, and that we do so with an open mind and a clear thought. In these things I pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay. For our pledges, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Now you may be seated. All right, I'd like to take a minute to recognize our elected officials that are here this evening. We have Miss Carrie Keaton. She is on the City Council of Alvarado. Debbie Keelan, Precinct 2 Chair. Taylor Lane, she's a Godly ISD trustee. Did I miss anybody? Oh, no music. Nobody is also running for Godly Trustee ISD. I'm going to give her a minute to introduce herself and say a few things before we get started. Announcements I have. In April, our speaker right now tentatively is Sheriff Will Wayborn, and he's going to talk about crime, his cooperation with ICE, deportation, and some of the issues that's going on with the jail. I think it's important. You know, a lot of people are putting it out there, but nobody knows what's really going on. So let's hear from the horses now. Jeff Struthers, who's going to be here, someone who's retiring at the courthouse. So she was going to update us on that. I don't know. So that's something to watch for. Some other things. I know this is only March. We have our elections in July. Anyone who's interested in being on the board, we do have our board meetings the second Tuesday of every other month. We just had one in March, so we won't have another one until May. But if you're interested, I encourage you to possibly come to our meetings, see how it runs and everything. I am not going to run for president again. I have been president for 5 years. Yeah. And I want to just come and be past president and do my part there. Paul will also not run as vice president because he's been the vice president for 5 years. We love Nona, our secretary, but she's got other things that she's got to take care of, and she said she will not be secretary. So anyone interested, we'd love you to come to the meeting, talk about it, learn, look at my scribble book, so this is a good organization. We need to keep it going, whether it be candidate forums, speakers, getting out to vote. It's just important. We do a lot of good things, and I want to.
When's the election?
July, or yes, for most of Patriots, it is our July meeting. We will elect officers then. I need to rest a little bit. Not only that, I'm waking up at 5. Oh my God! So I'm pretty excited. The 3 older ones, but then we got 2 little ones. I'm going to give Nova a chance to get up and introduce herself.
Do you want me to come up?
Yes, I'm going to come up. Take the microphone and speak.
Girl, I don't need a microphone. Nobody wants to hear me on a microphone, right?
You do. Listen, that's going to be a long ways away. My voice is so loud. I was born for theater. My name is Nova Olson. I'm running for Godly ISD School Board Trustee Place 5. And this is actually my 3rd year running. I don't know when to give up, I guess. So some of the same things we need to keep working on. I think we've gotten some work done, but we need a lot more work done. Kayla's been a great trustee. We need to get some people there who have the same type of values that we do. We have some issues at Godly ISD with academics, with safety, fiscal responsibility. We need to, and we have some issues with, how do I say this the most professional way possible? I think that people have lost sight of what a governing body is and what their responsibilities are. So a school board is a governing body, is therefore responsible to their constituents. And if we lose those rights, if we give up those rights, then, eventually our country will be lost. So at the local level is where we have to put the fight in. So I'm going to continue to fight. I am, as she said, I am Johnson County Republican Party Precinct 30 chair there in Longley. And so if you are in Longley, if you know anybody in Longley, I would appreciate you talking about a couple of myself and Michelle McQueen Bradley is another really good candidate that's running. So we would definitely appreciate your support, even if you aren't in Longley, but you're in Johnson County and you can help spread the word. We would so appreciate it. We are really looking forward to making some good changes. We have the momentum now, so let's take advantage of that. So thank you for letting me come and talk to you guys.
I don't have my candidate page live yet, but Noah Olson, you can find me in Johnson County. I have been sharing, in my community, sharing a bit. We have a wastewater treatment plant proposed to go up. The INC didn't tell us anything about it. They've been talking about it behind closed doors for at least the past year. And so I'm trying to make my community aware, as probably many of you know, about the declaration, with the PFAS chemicals. So, fighting HB3, big deal. So I really appreciate all the work that Hollie has done, because our educational, as a school board trustee, so much is at stake, right, with education. So this is a perfect opportunity for Hollie to come talk to us, because so much is at stake for our academic situation. So you can definitely find me. I will get my trustee page up here pretty soon. I just wanted to get a lot worked out on how I wanted that to come to the public. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And now, our featured speaker, Hollie Plemons, we're going to talk about Harvard. She's done. If you don't have a handout, we have some handouts for you to
Does
come
anybody not have one that needs it?
Yeah, she was talking. I saw her. She was talking.
Anybody else? All my friends.
I probably know everything on there, but thank you.
Y'all do know it.
People came in a little late, doesn't talk to you or anything. We'll get this handout. This is pretty serious. I know it's like with everything else, it's following money, and she has done that. So here she is, Hollie Plemons.
So, hey y'all, my name is Hollie. So my name is, I'm being boxed around. So my name is Hollie Plemons, and I am Tarrant County Precinct 2 Awesome area leader over HB90. It's a Democratic district, but somebody's got to do it. So that's me. And I'm along with 3 kids. My oldest is 21, my youngest is 11. In 2021, my superintendent went against the governor and force masked my children. Tried to. And that was on a Tuesday board meeting, but it ended on Wednesday morning. And I was like, no, we're not doing this. And my youngest had an asthma attack at school, and he turned blue. So I had 3 medical exemptions to not have to mask him. And when I called the school district, they said, if you don't like it, you can homeschool. And I said, oh, that's not how public school works. You have to accept this medical exemption. And they said no. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sue you. And I hung up the phone and I always do this, but it's and my husband said, they're $1 billion in your business. How are you going to sue them? And I said, leave me alone. I'm going to do this. It's going to be fine. He said, you're not doing this.
found an attorney, retainer was $10,000.
Wonder Twin Powers, activate.
And I said, okay, because I'm going to go to the grocery store, I'm going to pick up a few things, and when we come back, we'll talk about it, we'll look at all of our finances, I'll give you the opportunity. And I said, and I watched him leave, and I signed the documents, and it was the attorney. And he came home, and I said, I did it. And I was sweating profusely, and just walking around, what have I done, what have I done? I've never seen anybody. I wasn't political at the time. I didn't know that it was a Republican issue. I just didn't want my kid to have to wear a mask. I had no idea what was coming for me. God did, and God's the one that said, you're going to do this. And so when you listen to God, be prepared for where He's going to be taking you. And so my husband came in, and I said, I did it. And he said, you did what? And he dropped the groceries. I said, I'm going to sue Fort Worth ISD. And he said, Hollie, we can't afford that. And I said, I paid him $50, and I'm going to fundraise for the rest of it. He said, no good lawyer is going to take $50 and write a case for you. Well, it's Warren Horrid. Some of you guys might remember he ran against Phil King, and he is a good lawyer. And I said, well, he did. He didn't know what I was, and he just said, are you good for the money? And I said, yes. And he said, all right, let's do it. So we were in court on Friday. We got a temporary restraining order. We kept the mask off the kids the entire year. And we're the only school district in the entire state of Texas that can say that. And that is because of me and 3 other parents that did not know the day that we sued. We met the day we went to court. And it was a 12-month lawsuit. We spent $30,000. We put $50 in. And the rest of it was through fundraising. And we won. We got all of our legal expenses reimbursed. They'll keep you So that was because we got caught them breaking the Texas Open Meetings Act, TOMA. And so after my lawsuit and the win, they changed TOMA. And so you can no longer sue your school district if you catch them in a TOMA and get your legal expenses reimbursed. But I did. And we took the money and we put it into another account so that we could sue them again with it. Or we could send it for other things. I was sued for $1 million by somebody that lives out here in Johnson County because I called her a hooker because she was a hooker. And,
So was I.
some of y'all might remember who that was. I have some co-defendants here in the room with me. And so I might in Tarrant County, but I do a lot of life here in Johnson County with some of my awesome friends here, with Georgia and Greg and Nova and Dennis and Georgia's not my co-defendant, but because we didn't get included in that.
I didn't get it on that one.
No, and so it was just going down the faith that led me to both of those decisions. When I got sued by the hooker, I was like crying, laughing so hard. I was talking to Kay on the phone. My husband was like, "This is not funny. You just got sued for $1 million." I was like, "This is hysterical. It's going to be fine." And Warren took care of me, and I used the money from that Fort Worth ISD lawsuit to cover my expenses for that lawsuit. So God has always provided. And when I started going to school board meetings after I sued the school, I started listening to what they were saying. My school district is Fort Worth ISD. And they were saying some really crazy things. And I had never been to a public meeting before. I'd never been to a school board meeting. I didn't even know they had an agenda. And so they were talking about these things. And I'm like, where are they talking about all this stuff at? And people were like, it's on the agenda. And I was like, what's that? Where's that? And so I started reading it. And then I read it and I was like, these people are insane. What are they doing? And so I started on every single school board meeting. So I'm a regular fixture. The last few months I haven't been there. I know they miss me so terribly. But I was down in Austin fighting this bill because I think that this bill is way more important than anything that I could be doing in Fort Worth ISD right now. And the reason that I think that is because there's HB2, which is the school finance bill. So we're listening to our Republicans right now. There's no amount of money that's going to save public school. We got to put dumping money on it. TV, okay, don't talk yet. They wrote a bill where they want to take $20 billion more and dump it into public education over the next 5 years through 2030. So that's HB2. It's a garbage bill. It says it's going to go to the teachers, it's going to go to the schools. No, it's not. Vendors would start the show. Yeah. If that bill passes, coupled with HB3 or a voucher bill, we're done. For me, there's nothing else left. because everything in education has just changed, and we the people have just lost our ability to change things through elections and through local control. I believe that this voucher bill is the government's takeover of our private schools, and it's putting the camel's nose under the tent for our home schools. And so I think this is a huge deal, and as conservatives, we are for small government, low taxes. We want the government out of our lives. This is inviting the government right in your front door. So if you think that your public school is bad, great, think it, I don't care. If you think that they're bad and everything that they've done in there is bad, why are you opening the door for that same government to come into your home school or your private school? So they're going to tell you that there is protections in the bill, that they're not going to change anything in our private schools. That's for 2 years. This bill has an expiration date. Every 2 years they go into session, and they can open this bill back up and they can change it. We have a bill currently in the House, filed by a Democrat, that every school that takes the voucher money, and it's called an education savings account. It's called school choice. I just say vouchers. It's literally easier to say, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. They get mad over the terms. Who cares? I don't know what I'm talking about. It's vouchers. And so they're going to have those voucher coupons that is government money, and it's all of our money. That's another thing most people don't understand. It's coming from the surplus. So in the 90s, things changed down in Austin, and all money goes into the general fund, and then it spills out into pots underneath there. And so when they say it's not coming out of public education, okay, that's a fun word that they can say about that, because it's all in the general fund, and that's where our surplus is, and that's overtaxation that every single person in this room paid into. That is from your sales tax. And so instead of them, last session, saying we're going to give people back their money, they did not. So some of you guys out here, can you say that Johnson County is not on the auto thing? Y'all have to still do it?
What?
The inspection?
Yes.
Okay, because y'all are next to Karen. Okay, so in other counties, you don't have to go do that anymore. They still have to pay the fee. You still have to pay the tax. They didn't take it away. So they wanted to come back home to everybody, all the elected officials, and say, look what we did for you. You still have to pay for it.
Right.
Now they're just going to have jankier cars on the streets because they're not getting inspected. And I'll say that as an insult. My husband drives janky cars all the time. That's how they're able to afford private school. And so they're not really looking at what's best for us. And if we're ever thinking that we're going to put all of our faith in the government to fix a problem, that's your first problem. Yeah. They're never going to fix anything. We have to do it, and we have to keep pushing them back and telling them we don't want your involvement here. So on the notes that I gave you guys, it's the first page is, if I too long didn't read, it's kind of a visual summary of what the bill is about. The bill is 35 pages long. I have a word count for you. Pretty interesting. It's a 35-page bill, and it says vendor 50 times. I call this a vendor bill because the star of the show is going to be the vendors. It's not going to be the kids. It's not going to be the parents. It's going to be the vendors. So they're creating up to 5 new businesses that are going to be funded by us. And how much are they going to get? They're saying it's so small. It's only 8% overhead. 8% off of $1 billion. So the 3% goes to the comptroller. That's $30 million. 5% goes to up to 5 new vendors to oversee dispersing the money. So the CDAOs is what it's called, Certified Educational Assistance Organization. They're basically your voucher bank. They're going to hold your money because you're not getting the money, and then they pay it out to the different vendors or the private schools that you select, that you want the money to go to. And they're going to get 5%. It's $50 million off. $50 million. What do the CEOs do? You call them and you say, I got my golden ticket. And they say, what's your zip code? And you say 76133. And it's okay, here's the private schools that are around you, or did you get a homeschool ESA? You got homeschool, they'll tell you about the vendors. These are parents that they're not our senior citizens, no offense to them, but they're not. They know how to use the internet. My mom doesn't know how to use the internet. And she doesn't have kids anymore that are in K through 12. They can get online and they can look all this stuff up. But that's not what it's about. It's doing something simple. It's about giving money to those vendors. So we've been asking for several years, like, who are these vendors? And this bill has been coming around. It's in the same bill every single session for about 10 years. And they're the same from the House and the Senate, very, very similar. And it's, who are these vendors? Who are these vendors? Who are these vendors? Couldn't figure it out. It's a Catholic charities, because they're always there begging for government money. Who is it? Well, I found one. And you just walk around the halls of Austin, a lot of deals happen in the hallway. And there's a lot of lobbyists and politicians and people, and you go to these education meetings, you're like, I don't remember you. I don't know your name, I don't remember your face. I've seen you at 6 different meetings. And so I'll just stand close to them. I'm not fixing my sock. I'm not doing anything. I'll go sit down on a bench next to them and listen. And so I got to hear several conversations down in Austin by being there that didn't know who I was. I used to wear my hair straight and I'll curl it, and apparently people don't recognize me anymore. So they were like, they didn't know who I was. And so one of them is called Odyssey. And so I go home and I'm Googling Odyssey, and I heard about Odyssey someplace else when they asked me about it. I was like, I don't know who that is. And then I was like, oh my gosh, yes I do. And I went home and I Googled, and they are a CEAO in other states. And so on the very homepage of their website, they received an award, and it's called the Yaz Award for Jeff Yaz. So Jeff Yaz is who created TikTok. He is a billionaire from Pennsylvania. He's the dude that gave Abbott the $6 million donation, which was the largest single donation in the history of Texas. He has invested over $12 million in Texas in this last election cycle. Some of it went to Dan Patrick, some of it went to most of it went to Abbott, and then some of it went to American Federation for Children, which is run by Betsy DeVos, who used to be our Secretary of Education, which we now have Lyndon Buchanan. And when Betsy was there in the Department of Education, she wasn't saying we need to get rid of the Department of Education. But as soon as she got out, she started running it. We got to do this, and we got to get school choice. Why are all these millionaires and millionaires so concerned about school choice? If they want kids in private school, why didn't Jeff take that $6 million donation and put it into some scholarships? No strings attached. Come on. Yeah. So he's involved with Odyssey. He gave them $500,000, and he runs a company. It's a think tank called STOP, S-T-O-P. I don't remember what the S stands for, but I remember what the T and the P stand for, and it's because the T is for transformational. Who gave them the right to transform our children? When I drop my children off at school, you looked it up for me? That didn't matter. These are the two I care about. And these are the two that's like, this is my now. I have to see those two and I'm done. When you drop your kids off at school, you want reading, writing, math, science, history, not social studies, history, and a little bit of fine art. You want some playtime, you want some lunch. That's what you're wanting. You're not wanting them to transform your child. You may like your child, you may not like your child. That is not their job to transform your child. And then the P stands for permissionless. Man, that one was hard for me. Permissionless is a term that's used in blockchain, and I'm not going to go all the way into blockchain, but blockchain is very scary. You should think about the kid with a backpack, and all of their information is in that backpack. So if you go to the hospital and your doctor is associated with the hospital, and you go to the ER, and they can pull everything up of what you just had, that's blockchain. So kind of helpful there, right? But think about it as a kid. In first grade, Georgia was playing on her phone and was not paying attention during class. And so teacher wrote that down. That's what she did for playing on her phone in front of me. And so then she got in trouble in second grade. And then she got caught kissing a boy. And so that's going to be written down in there. And all this stuff's going to be in her backpack. Her grades are going to be there. Everything about this child growing up, that's Big Brother, major. That's blockchain. And so permissionless is a word that's used in blockchain. And so they want education to be permissionless. Yep. From who? The parents? Yep. Because the only people that give permission are the parents. Right. I think that that's organization stop is terrifying. I think that Jeff Yaz is terrifying. And then they're going to come in and they're going to be overseeing all of our money going to certain people. They say that this legislation is to help attract kids in failing schools, failing public schools. Fiscal note says only 14% of the kids are going to come from our public schools, 98,000 kids in 5 years. And it's going to cost us all $11 million in 5 years to save 98,000 kids. 86% are going to go to homeschool families and families that are already in private school. We are no different than any other state. That is the percentages that are very spot on with every other state. 75% and up go to kids that are already not in public school. Average, and the former governor of Arizona did a press conference today where they lied and said that the majority of the coupons in Arizona went to kids that were not already in private school. It is literally a very simple search to see that that's not true. Every single person here has a smartphone. You can Google it. You can see that. It's just not how it's going. And then why I'm so passionate about this of having one child that's still in government education and one child that's in private school. My one that's in private school, he graduates in May. And I'm very excited about that. I don't have to pay for him anymore. Now I get to pay for little brother. And so little brother will go to private school. And so I'm going to protect my private school. I have sacrificed. I'm not asking any of you for any money to send my child to that private school. I did knock on any of your doors and tell you my sad story of why I need some of your money to go make a decision. I decided to sell my car. I actually told my husband he was going to sell a kidney, he was going to do something, but we had to get our middle child into private school because he was dumb. He didn't know anything, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I talked to him about this all the time. He was like, Dad, I didn't know anything. And he got into the private school. They were like, oh, Hollie, you were right. The last time that he probably got a great education was 6th grade. He was going into 11th grade. And we had 2 years left to do something and to save this child. And I was like, we got to do something. And so he said, well, are you going to sell your car? I can't afford that car payment and do this. And I said, sell it. And he said, you'll drive an old car. And I said, yeah. And he was like, okay, we can do it. And so it's been a struggle. We don't go out to eat. We don't go on vacations. Get my clothes at parent centers or Amazon. I'm not buying new stuff all the time. I spend what money we do have going back and forth to Austin. Luckily, a few people have given me some donations over the last couple months, which has been absolutely awesome. I'm not asking you all for a donation. I'm just saying they've been able to help pay for that gas back and forth. And it has been so helpful for our family, for me to just be able to say, I'm going. And the money's right there for me to go buy more paper or more ink or whatever I'm going to do. My notes, you guys just have the front and back. It's actually 10 pages long. It's on my Twitter, it's on my Facebook. You've got my phone number, my email address. You can reach out to me and I'll give you all of it. And I go page and line number through the bill of telling you where they're not telling you the truth, what they're going to be spending your money on, how they're going to be doing it. So anybody that wants that can have it. There's 150 house reps. I have printed a copy for every single one of them. And I go every single week to Austin and I go door to door and I try to talk to reps, chief of staff, or legislative director. There's the only 3 that I will talk to. The rest of them I just try to set an appointment. And I am giving them these notes. And so I got this big suitcase over there, and my husband bought me because my shoulder was killing me carrying around all that paper. And so I rolled around like a real little lobbyist to go in and try to talk to him about everything that's going on. And most of the staff has all been very nice. The reps, it's not awesome. They don't want my inconvenient truth. And I hate to use that worst line, but I am an inconvenient truth. This bill is a lie. It's not school choice. It is not your money following your child. It is all of our money. It's a new lane of education that's being created. It is ultimately going to be a new tax for all of us to have to pay for. So in the bill, the first line item is $1 billion that they're setting aside. In the next line item, it is open to every single child that is on the wait list. Every single one. Now, I don't think the parents aren't going to want this. It's a government handout. Like, of course they're going to want it. They're going to line up for it. And they're going to say, yeah, I want that. I'm going to do that. And they're not going to understand where it's going to be coming from. They're not going to be reading the bill. They're not going to be knowing what rights they're going to be giving up. And most of them probably aren't going to care. They're just a desperate parent, which I was myself. And I understand that. And so every single one that's on the waiting list. So the best thing that most people like to hear is who's eligible? Illegals. They're first in line, y'all. We all want your money going to illegals. So they use two different education codes in the language of the bill. One is 25.001, and that is all children. And under 25.001, it doesn't say it in there, but that's where we have to serve illegal students because of a lawsuit that was called Tyler, like Tyler with a P versus Doe. And so our 14th Amendment to our Constitution says if illegals here, they get all the services that we get, or we deport them. I'm for deporting them.
Yeah.
But that's not what's happening. So we have to educate them. And so they're using 25.001, so there you go, there's the illegals. But this House bill, this session, they used another code. I'm so thankful they did. I want to say it's 29.816, but it's about prepay. And one of the lines in the prepay code is that they're unable to speak the English language. So what do y'all think that means? And they had gaslit me for several years. I'm wrong about the illegals, and I'm not. And I knew I wasn't. Now, Brian Harrison, who's a representative from Midlothian, Waxahachie area, he is agreeing with me that yes, illegals can get this. And in Tennessee, they just passed school choice in February, and it says no illegals. You have to be a citizen to get it. But Texas doesn't want to do that. The other thing that our money can go to in the state of Texas is we have 25 Muslim schools, private schools in the state of Texas today. 16 of them are already accredited, and every single private school that receives this voucher money, they have to be accredited, and they have to be accredited through TSAC, and that's in the bill. And so in the bill, it says that you have to be under there. They are like the government agency, and then there's vendors underneath them, so you can go to several different accreditation agencies. And very interesting, every single one of the Muslim schools is all accredited from the exact same agency. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And so those 16 are immediately able to sign up and say, we're going to be an ESA school. We're going to accept them. Is that what you conservatives want your dollars going for? Is to train terrorists that want to kill us? I mean, I'm just going to be really blunt. I do think they're terrorists that want to kill us. And then also in Arizona, which I would have the former governor there, as soon as ESA is passed, an LGBTQ school opens up. And it's for junior high through high school. And if you have a kid that's a little weird and you've got a Looney Tunes mom that wants your kid to be the opposite gender than they are, they'll put them in this school. And guess what? The tuition is the exact dollar amount of the coupon. And so that's where their tax dollars are going. The same thing can happen here. The private school can be opened here. Any kind of private school. I'm a Christian. I don't want my money going to Catholic schools. I don't agree with that. I don't want them going to Jewish schools. I actually don't want them going to Christian schools because I don't want the government in my Christian school. I don't want the government's idea of religion to be infiltrating what my child is being taught in their school. And so these are the unintended consequences of this bill. And absolutely zero representatives want to talk about these unintended consequences. Also, like if you're talking about, oh, it's the poor kids who want to help them. Hey, why are we always focusing on the 5% and neglecting the 95%? What about middle class? We're dying. Why are we focused on middle class? So they kind of heard me from last session, and so this one is a little bit different. It starts with the first tier is fed kids, and then it's super low income kids, and then it goes to 500% above the poverty level, which is about $160,000 a year for a family of 4. And I would not say that that is a poverty level family. So everybody can be included at that time. But the low income kids, if you're a family and you're making $60,000 a year, and your private school's $12,000, and let's say the coupon's 11, are they coming up with that $1,000 plus uniforms, plus transportation, plus lunches? They're not. They're going to be in our public schools. And so they're saying the problem is our public schools. Let's fix them. Let's fix them. The government that broke the public schools is now wanting to come into our private schools and our home schools and mess them up, and I don't want them to. Abbott says he has the votes. I don't believe him. The press conference today, Burrow said they have more than just 76 people that are going to sign for it. But it's not over until it's over.
That's right.
Next week, it will be voted on by the Education Committee, and most of you that are in here have Helen Kerwin as your rep. She's on that committee. She knows all about the problems with this bill. I have met with her for over 2.5 hours. She stood with Abbott today. And she's not listening. And her community has 100% been lighting her up over this issue.
Yes.
And so if our representatives are going to bend the knee to Abbott and what Abbott wants, and they're not going to be representing you, we've lost our representative form of government.
Yeah, right.
If these donors, like Jeff Gatz and Tim Dunn is another one that comes in that wants the vouchers, and they're going to come in and they're going to say, hey, this is what we want you to do, Abbott, and here's this money, and get it to happen, they just sold our state.
Yeah.
And I never saw a for sale sign. I never knew our state was for sale. And I'm sure that most of you didn't know that either. And so this is for us. This is time for the pitchforks and the torches for us to be going in and saying, no, we're not going to do this. So what's the solution? You're going to have to call. You're going to have to text. You're going to have to email. You're going to have to make life uncomfortable. For you that have Helen, you're going to have to tell her, I am not just going to not vote for you, I'm going to work against you.
Yes.
I'm going to make phone calls for whoever runs against you. I am going to walk. I am going to donate money. And then if you do make the right vote, Helen, I'll support you. I will be there for you. It's not a threat, it's a promise.
Yeah.
What are you willing to do with your representative? And they need to be hearing this, and they need to be feeling more pressure. School choice has sucked all of the oxygen out of the Capitol. For we the people down at convention, closing the border was our #1 priority.
Yep.
And Abbott and Dan Patrick said, no, school choice for less than 1% of kids. That's our #1 priority, and we're going to give it to those illegals that you want to shut the border down to.
Yep.
They're not listening to us. They think that our Republican Party of Texas platform is a joke. So in our platform, we've got the preamble, which is just too long to read of what it means to be a Texas Republican. And then we have 10 principles. Number 5 and number 9, this bill goes against. So at the last convention, Rule 44, which is the censure rule, it changed. So if you get censured by your local county party, which the precinct chairs in here for Johnson County, you guys can try to censure Helen over it. If you censure them, they can't run as a Republican on the ballot. They've lost the opportunity to call themselves a Republican. Now, do I think that the SRAC, the State Republican Executive Committee, is going to back up censures over school choice? I don't. I think they should, but they're not going to, because most of them are for it. And the accreditation agencies I was talking about, one of our SRAC members, that's his business, isn't that neat? And that's Matt Tiskus, and so he is mine. Most of you that are in here, I think, are called SC10. Yeah. So he's yours too. So if you're a dude, you're an SC10, you should consider running against him, because I would love to see him unseated, and I told him so on Twitter. And so he is going to profit from this. And so he's in there as well. And so he's the one that gave on Saturday at the SRAC meeting. He was the one that gave the presentation on school choice. I mean, that's a conflict of interest. I really, really didn't like that, of him getting to talk about this bill that he's going to profit from. But he did, and that's the way it is. I don't think they're going to actually censure them for it, but it would send a really strong message from your county if you're like, we're so upset that you did this.
Yeah.
And it's not what it says. It is not the money following the child. That was your ballot language that you guys voted for. And it's not, because it's coming from the surplus. It is not your money. It's everybody's money.
Right.
And they are not arguing about that. That it doesn't match the ballot language. They're still saying, 80% of Republicans wanted it. 10.86% of Texas Republicans voted in the primary and have it on their ballot. 10.86. That's it. So it's not this overwhelming majority of people that are saying that they actually wanted this. And was it this bill?
No.
Then they talk about surveys. I love the surveys. They're so slanted. One survey was done by 825 people, and it was a statewide survey, y'all. I had around 825 people in my precinct. We have 39 people in the state of Texas. The largest sampling they did was 2,257 people. One thing to note, as they keep doing these surveys, the support is waning every single time. Now the Democrats, they did a survey as well, and I will give them credit. They put out what their questions were.
Yeah.
All the Republican surveys, they don't say what the questions are, what they're asking. Are they just saying, do you support school choice? Well, of course, we have school choice. I've used it 10 different times in the state of Texas, because we do have 10 options for school choice in the state of Texas. Yes, you have to pay for some of them. Yes, you have to put in effort. Yeah, they're my kids. Of course I'm going to put in effort. They're my job. That's the job that God gave me. And so many parents are like, oh no, I'm just going to drop them off and let the government take care of it. Yeah. And I don't subscribe to that. So, y'all like that one? Because they do. I'm for it, but I see they do it a lot. And so, whenever we're looking at why they're saying it, every single time we're like, well, here's the ballot language. We're like, no, actually, here's this. Okay, well, now it was this survey. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That was 2,257 people. Okay, you're done with that one. And they come back with another survey. And I was like, that was 1,200 people. And your support's dropping. So they came back, now it's now 825 people. And so they just keep coming back with why people want this. But if you guys get on Twitter, Facebook, just go to Abbott's. This is the best. In those comments, everybody is upset. And you're going to be able to see it's Republicans that are upset.
Yeah.
And when they say the Democrat talking point is it's going to defund public education. I don't ever say that. Is it true? Yes. Is it going to happen immediately? No, it's not. It's going to be very slow. And so now they're saying what I think is the scariest thing out loud. When people say, well, I don't have a private school in my area, so I have to pay for this, but we don't even have one. Now they're saying the scary part, oh, they're going to come. So this is another vendor that's going to be coming in. So my kid goes to Nazarene, which is right up there in Crowley. They've been around for 40 years. I did not pick them because they were a brand new school. I picked them because they had a track record. I went to private school. My private school has been there since the 60s. And my parents picked it actually because it's close to my house, but it had a really great track record of educating kids. So this private school, pop-up private school, is going to open up. They have no proven track record of what they're going to be doing with the kids and educating the kids. You don't even know who they are, and you're supposed to give them your coupon and send it there. What if you don't like it? Do you get your money back? You get to go someplace else? We don't know. That's not discussed in the bill of what's going to happen. Special ed kids, if you have a nonverbal child, if you have a child with eating tube, and you try to take them to my private school, you are denying.
Yeah.
And you should be denying, because that would be wrong for my private school to take your money and say, we're going to be able to handle your child. We're going to be able to educate your child. And they can't. I am 100, if you want to call it discrimination, great, call it whatever you want. I want them to do that. And I want my private school that I am paying for, I want it to be the best that it can be for my kid. If you have an autistic, nonverbal kid, I want them to have the best school that they can have. And I don't want to run someplace where they're not going to actually be educated. And so some of these private schools, if they're the pop-ups, are they going to have that same integrity to say, I'm sorry, we can't serve you? If you are a violent child, is that who I want when you come into my private school? No. If you are a parent that is very wealthy and can write a check but you don't show up to anything, you also don't get into our private school, because we only have very involved parents in our private school, and I love my private school. I've complained about every single school since my kids started. And so for me to actually be happy about a school, like my face should be on a billboard for them, because I can make that everything. And I love my private school. And they love me, and they love my kids, and they love our family. And I know that they do. And I want every single kid to have that. And a lot of kids do have that in the public school. When we're talking about public schools as a failure, you're mainly talking about Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Fort Worth. And is Fort Worth a failure? Yeah, 0% of 7th graders master math. But we also have the #2 elementary school in the state of Texas in our district. What's the difference between my district and that particular school? Anybody want to guess?
Parents involvement.
It's the parents. It's the parents. They're great parents at that particular school. It's called Tanglewood and Overton Park. And flip back and forth between. And so they have great parental involvement, and that's the difference. And so you can't government a parent. So for all of the low-income schools that they have, and there's all kinds of problems there, they're never going to be able to give them what the kids over at Tanglewood have. They're just not. They don't go home to the same kind of homes.
Right.
And the government cannot be your mom and dad. They just can't. It's super sad. I want great teachers, I want great administrators, I want great principals that are seeing that this child is dirty, or they smell, or they're hungry, or they have holes in their shoes, and reaching out and asking what to be done. My kid was at a charter school, and he loved his shoes, and he freaking had holes in them. And he would not quit wearing them. I threw them away and got him out of the garbage, and he wore them to school. And the school called and was like, "Are you guys having financial trouble? We saw his shoes." And I was like, "No, he just loves the shoes. Like, I will make sure they actually go out with the trash this Friday. Like, we're good. I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed." But that's what school should be doing, is calling and saying, "What's going on? What can we do?" And then the school would say, "Let's go to the PTA. Let's go to the moms that are super involved." And that's what they did do when we had a child that, I was telling her mom, and we did letters to Santa, and he asked for Kraft macaroni and cheese and a new belt. And I was like, "What kind of toy do you want?" And he's like, "Oh, just this would be great." And I just kept trying, and he finally was like, "New uniforms for next year." I couldn't get him to talk about anything that needs. So I gathered up some moms, we got him his macaroni and cheese, we got him his belt, we got him shoes, we got him a bike, and we gave it to the school. The school went and took it and left it on his porch, so that they didn't violate giving up his address to anybody. That parent has no idea where everything came from. But that was the community, not the government. And so that's why it was so wonderful of going and do that, and what it wasn't stolen from me, my money, to go pay for that bicycle. I decided what I could afford that Christmas. And so, as conservatives, I believe that that's what all of us are thinking and what we need to be doing. And this bill doesn't do that. So, the other thing I wanted to talk about is, in school choice, is we have, some people talk about a tax exemption. And I wrote a bill for a tax exemption because people that are in private school like I am, I pay twice.
Yep.
I don't care if there's a tax exemption, FYI. I just wrote the bill to show what it actually looks like of your money following your child. And so that's not me stealing from you. That's just my money. Is it going to be 10 grand? No, I don't live in a house where I pay $10,000 and then but your INS, that is your interest in sinking your want it. You're still going to pay that. But your M&O, if you could keep, not get back, but keep a portion of that and use it how you want to, that's school choice. That's the money following the child. That's what most people believe is happening. I met with my pastor yesterday. He's very much for school choice. And I started talking, and he was just pulling his hair out. And he was like, "This is not what they told me." And I said, "Yeah, I know." And I started talking about the tax exemption. He was like, yeah, why are they doing that? And I was like, "Well, there's no vendors for that. That's just doing right by taxpayers. That's not what we're trying to do here." And so, anybody that wants to see what the tax exemption bill is, you can text me, email me. I have a few copies with me if you want to see that. And then, I've already told you about the call to action of reaching out to all of them and letting them know how you feel. And then, who's the biggest problem in Texas? It's Abbott. It's Abbott. So what do we have to do to get rid of Abbott? 26 primary. Primary. So that is you guys telling the neighbors, "Did you get out and vote? Did you get out and vote?" Most people don't vote in the primary. That's what we're talking about, the 10.86% of voters that got out and voted in the primary. That's our opportunity to make change. Yep. And so go and talk to your neighbors. Talk to church. We had Don Huffines and Alan West and Chad Prather and Abbott running last time. And so go and talk to them and say, here's what I like about Alan West. And FYI, I was for Don Huffines and never vote for that man ever again. He's running for comptroller right now because The comptroller oversees the ESAs, and Dawn has been huge in pushing ESAs for quite some time. And the CPA is about to be a huge money seat.
Right.
If you think it's expensive to become governor, wait till this bill passes and see if anybody's able to become the CPA without dropping $20 million on the election. And Glenn Hager is stepping away. If you guys didn't know that, he's going to be the new chancellor at Texas A&M. And last session, Donnie Campbell, who's a senator, got offended with me saying that the bill puts the comptroller's office for sale, because it does. And she said, well, Glenn Hager is not for sale. I didn't say anything about Glenn Hager. I said that the bill puts it for sale. And that Glenn Hager's not always going to be there. Now look, he's not.
Right.
And so he's leaving, and we've got Christy, what's her name? Craddock, that's running. And her dad is Tom Craddock. He's in the House. He's a co-sponsor of this bill. He is the person that's been in the House the longest. So if we're talking about Kenny Granger and Feinstein and someone having to nod their head to vote, we're real close there with Tom, and then his daughter is Christy. And I don't like any of those choices. I hope somebody else comes up. But Abbott's going to get to a point, and that's so upsetting to me, because the CEO and the CPA, the comptroller, they're the ones that they get to make all of these decisions. And so whenever you go and you start reading the bill, they're saying the rules that are going to be set. What rule? Mm-hmm. What rule are you guys going to be making? We don't know. We got to pass it to find out.
Yeah.
And so they're going to get to making these rules to spend our money, how they're going to be doing it. And then my favorite part is they get to accept bribes. And so this is the first time that this bill passes that they actually, the legislation has made it legal to do bribes. And so it's gifts, grants, and donations. Those are bribes. And I did have a Democrat, Gina Mendoza. She loves to kill babies. She loves rainbow flags. She's radical. I agree with her about this. And she said on the diet, she had my notes, and she said on page so-and-so, line such and such. She was in the audience. I was like, oh my gosh, I did that. I was so excited. And she was like, she's about to talk about the gifts, grants, and donations. Not one Republican said a word on that diet. Not one Democrat said anything either. So the private businesses, the CEOs of $50 million, they can accept gifts, grants, and donations. They're the ones that get to pick the winners and the losers. It's your kid that gets a coupon and not yours. And did you donate? Did you give some money to the CEO? Oh, now you get a coupon and you didn't, so you don't. Is that where this is going? Of picking the winners and the losers? And then the CPA also gets to do this and picking the 5 new vendors. So whoever donates to the CPA, and then they pick those particular companies and not the one that didn't donate, it's a bribe. It is literally a bribe. So the one thing that's good about Gina is that she is an attorney, and she went into the law library, and she's the one that looked it up, and it's never been done before. It's been in every single voucher bill that I have been reading over the last, I've gone back 10 years and read all of them, and it was in almost all of them. And it's in another education bill, and I can't remember the number of it. It was last Tuesday in the education committee. This is super dangerous. And then the number one most dangerous part of the bill, if we're going to have to pick little issues, there's a survey. And it's called the CCMR survey. So that's College Career Military Readiness. And so you think that's how you find out if your kid is ready for college, a career, or military, and if they're ready for life. No, it's Common Core. So whenever it came into Texas, it was Common Core. Texas has Common Core illegal, so they just rebranded it and called it CCMR. And so that's how they got around that. And so they have the CCMR survey in here. So now in our public schools, they have the CCMR in our curriculum and how they're pushing everything. And it's not just a survey. But this is just a start. This is just the first step. This is the first triennium that it might possibly pass. And so they're going to make the kids take a survey. And here's the neat part. The survey doesn't start until graduation. How old are they at graduation? 18. 17. And that's an adult. So what parent in here has the right to sell your child's liberty? None of us. But if this bill passes and a parent takes the money for one semester, if they take it for the first semester of kindergarten and they say, you know what, we don't like it, it's a requirement. It says required. And so whenever they turn 18 years old, are they going to have to take that survey? How long is the survey? And it asks them when they went to work, where they're going to go to school, what kind of career they're going to have, how much money they're going to make. We don't submit that information to the TEA, to the comptroller. We submit it to the IRS of how much money we make, and like they probably all know, but we're not having to give it over. And we're not having to give it over on our kids. And so I see one of the things that's said about this, one of the selling points is it's a parent's choice. And parents know best, right? So let's go fast forward. The parent took the money and the kid comes in and says, hey, my friends don't have to keep doing these surveys, but I do. Why do I have to do it? And mom says, well, I was just doing what I thought was best. Oh, isn't that neat how the government just blamed the parent for doing that? And it was the plan all along. So I don't look very far down the road whenever I come through these things. When I saw the CCMR survey, I mean, I lost it. Surveys is a huge deal to me anyways because it's data mining and data collection. And I've thrown quite a large bit about it in Fort Worth ISD. So when I saw that, it was like, oh my gosh, I continued to read it, and I thought, no. I'm reading this wrong. I'm absolutely wrong. So I read it again, and I read it again, and I started calling people. And so then I started calling reps' offices, and they were like, oh my God, what did you find? And they know I'm telling the truth. Helen Kerwin knows I'm telling the truth. I believe that Helen Kerwin is going to have an amendment to take this out. Hopefully she does follow through on that. But here's my stance. I don't negotiate with terrorists. And this bill is a terrorist. So I'm not doing amendments for this bill. I refuse to do amendments for this bill. If you want to talk to Helen and you want to do amendments, that's on you. But I don't do that. And so I would ask for amendments because they want me to say, okay, here's these 5 amendments. And then they're able to say, well, I'm working with Hollie. And Helen's office actually from Paul. And you start talking about this, they tell you that she's working with me. She's not with me for 2.5 hours. I'm not working with her. And I want everybody to know that. Because they're using my name and telling people that I don't know that are then reaching out to me on Twitter. And I'm like, where did you hear this from? And they're hearing it from her office. I appreciate them taking my notes. I appreciate Helen meeting with me. I appreciate her returning my text messages. But I don't want anybody in here to hear that I worked with her on these amendments because I did not. I don't do amendments because then it just gives them an excuse to pass something bad and say that but I did these amendments. There is no amending this. Bad policy equals bad legislation, and this is horrible legislation. So I meant to do this earlier. Is there anybody in here that was undecided before I started talking on where you were standing on this issue? You were undecided, you two were? Okay, was there anybody in here that was for it before I started talking? You were, okay.
I thought it was.
No, I want to hear this, I love it.
The money policy did, you could choose for your kids.
So where do you stand now?
I'm going to be calling Helen.
So I was very good friends with Helen, and you guys were following her campaign when she went to the border. I went with her. And I think that Helen is a lovely woman.
Right.
I really do. I believe that she has a knee on her neck of what she needs to do, and we're going to find out who she works for when this vote comes.
Right.
And I'm really afraid right now that she's going to vote for it. And I don't see her representing her people.
Yep.
I see her telling people, I'm going to do these amendments, and oh, Hollie so mad about that CCMR survey. She didn't know what CCMR was till I started talking about it. She knows about it now. Do what?
I think she didn't know a lot of things.
She didn't.
When she got into the campaign, she
Yeah.
didn't know squat.
Well, there's lots of people that ask me to run for office because I talk about this stuff. It's educational, that's all I know. And I don't know everything about education. If you were to ask me how we fix the border, I don't know. If you're to ask me how we're supposed to take care of our farmers, I don't know, I live in the city. What I believe, and I was telling my friends I had dinner with earlier, is that these elected officials, they get into office because they want to do something good. And that is how it was set up and how it was supposed to be. And they can't know everything about everything. what irritates me is when they get on TV and they start talking like they're the authority on public school. You didn't go to public school. You didn't have your kids in public school. I know where you live. I know your district. It's my district. But you haven't toured any of those public schools. And I'm talking about John McCain. He's super dislike him. And he did that. And it's like, you don't know anything about this. But then people are saying, well, I listened to John McCain. And I'm like, he doesn't know anything. I do. Like, I know what I'm talking about. Like, have him debate me. And we'll see that he doesn't know anything about it. What I want our elected officials to do is to each of us that are in here, there's probably something that you're an expert in, and you're an expert in your life and in your lived experience. For me, I've become an expert in the certain lanes of education that I take up, and I would like for our elected officials to use me. I'm not a lobbyist, I don't get paid, but I've looked into this, and when they start talking to me, they're always like, okay, slow down, slow down. You're saying too much. Like, you have so much information, and it's like, okay, so you're going to listen to me? No. Then they don't. No, TPPF came in, and I'm like, they get paid by donors to push a particular agenda. And TPPF is Texas Public Policy Foundation. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so Helen's daughters were Plemons. I think most people know that. And so Brooke worked for Trump the first time. And now she is the agriculture, and she's over that. And so Trump actually did ask Brooke to be his chief of staff, and she said she couldn't because she had kids. And so he sent agriculture back to Texas from DC so that she can be her and her kids. And Brooke, before she got involved with Trump, and then after Trump, she created AFPI, Americans for Prosperity Institute. And to get invited to their parties is a minimum of a $25,000 a year donation. So they're very, very fancy. And they have parties at Mar-a-Lago all the time. And they're the ones that all these executive orders that Trump has been writing, they've been preparing them for 4 years. And that's AFPI that's been doing that. And so Brooke was over AFPI. Before that, she did TPPF, Texas Public Policy Foundation. And so she was the money getter. So she had to go out and try to raise money for TPPF. So TPPF is who writes these voucher bills. It has Brad Buckley's name on it. He didn't write it, they did. And they wrote HB1, which was the horrible voucher bill that you heard about this last summer, that several of the elected officials were crying on the news, oh, who it didn't pass. And then me and my moms, Georgia, Kayla, we absolutely annihilated that bill on social media. And so then in the summer, TPPF has their policy summit. And so they were sitting on stage and they were talking about how bad HB1 was. TPPF wrote it all. And they were saying how bad it is. And some of the elected officials that were crying about it on the news were there like, yeah, it's a really bad bill. And I was like, do you want to apologize for gaslighting me? That it was a bad bill. It was a horrible bad bill. It gave so much money to leftist programs in our public schools that if it passed, Republicans would have lost their marbles over that one. I think this one's just as equally as bad. But so Brooke's connection to TPPF is there, and she last year raised a ton of money for TPPF. And then Helen gets put on the education committee. And so to you guys that were here, education wasn't, the main thing she talked about. And what she cares about the most right now is her PFAS bill. And I think it's a great bill. And that's where she's at. They put her on the education committee. And then she's got her ties in TPPF. She's been going to TPPF meetings for 20 years. And so there's that connection there. And I'm not trying to dog her, it's factual. If she wanted to get up and talk about things that I've done, she could. That's totally fine. I don't have anything to hide. But I think that she needs to hear from her constituents that this isn't what she wants to be paying for, and it's her job. So when our country was created, Benjamin Franklin was asked, sir, what kind of country do we have? And he said,
Republic, if you can keep it.
If you can keep it. So I'm trying to keep it, and I'm here talking to you guys, begging you guys to help me try to keep it. And if we don't do our job, then they're gonna get crazy. Do we think our government has gotten more powerful or less since the 60s? More, and they're just going to keep going. And so we have to push them back, and Helen is our government right now, and she needs to be reminded who she works for, and it is not Abbott who donated to her. It is not Jeff Gas. It is not this bill. It is not TPPF. It is not her daughter. It is not Trump. Yes, ma'am.
Aren't the Democrats running the Republicans?
Pretty much.
Oh, this is such a fun topic. So, people talked about, we gotta get David Cook. He's an F-rated Republican now. That's who was running against Burroughs. And he is Tarrant County. He was in Mansfield, and he was the mayor of Mansfield. And I know quite a bit about David Cook, and so I'm not a big fan of him, but to be fair, as I told my friends earlier, I hate everybody. So,
We're your friends.
they're my friends. I know, I told you that. And I say it all the time. So these elected officials, when I see them making bad votes, and I try to talk to them about it, and it's all of them. I talk to all of them. City council, school board, college, commissioners court, the Senate, the House. Like, I've gone all over. I've talked to everybody. I've talked to Dan Patrick. I've never talked to Abbott because he's a globalist, and I'm not going to talk to him. But they were telling you guys there's this major, David Cook is going to be so great, and Burroughs is going to be so awful. They're the same. They were literally a few points away from each other in conservatism, but neither one of them were a really strong conservative. And so I went down for opening session. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching everybody. I actually loved being there because I didn't have a dog in the fight. It didn't matter. They were both the same to me. And so whenever Burroughs won, and I knew he was going to win, and they're like, oh, are you so upset? And I was like, no. Not at all. I was like, I'm actually quite happy. Let's go out and get a drink. I was having a good time that night. Because I hadn't just got my teeth kicked in the educational committee, which is normally what happens whenever I'm down there. And so we talk about the Democrats running it. Only if the Republicans let them. And then we talk about the rhinos, right? Republican in name only. If you vote for this bill, aren't you a rhino? Wouldn't that be all of them? Isn't that our good guys? Ryan Harrison saying he's not going to vote for it, but Shelley Luther, Wes Burdell, David Lowe, Andy Hopper, Helen, some of our new people that have just came in are reformers that have all signed on to this bill, except for Ryan Harrison. It's socialism. It's truly socialism. And one thing, I don't want to go too far into it because people get a little nuts with it, but the World Economic Forum is absolutely real. Globalism is absolutely real. And it's not a conspiracy theory. And if you get on the United Nations website, which is UNESCO for their education arm, or you get on the World Economic Forum, and you do a Control F for school choice, it's going to light up. On UNESCO, it's thousands of kids. And they have thousands of documents talking about demand-side financing, school choice, vouchers, education savings accounts. And so whenever you dig into the documents of globalism, how it's going to be installed is through education. Because they're going to use our babies to have us for our own good. So the first thing they're going to need is a statewide curriculum. We don't have a statewide curriculum, but we do a state-owned curriculum, and that was HB 1605, and that was blue on it. And I was extremely against that. That was the curriculum that most people heard about, and it had Bible verses in it. That was just to tickle your ears to get your buy-in. The curriculum was garbage, and so they learned about that one. Then we just have to go a little bit further, and then it's a state-mandated curriculum. And so then you've got the first key of globalism is terms. Your second key is vouchers. And the reason why is because this is the elimination of choice. If they suck up all the tiny private schools, like mine, low tuition private schools, and where's Abbott going? Is he going to Fort Worth Country Day where Brooke and Helen's grandkids go? No. My chairman has his kids there? No. Not going there is $25,000 a year. They're going to All Saints where McQueen's kids are. No, not going there. That's another $25,000. Are they going to Southwest Christian? Are they going to Holiday in Dallas? No, he's not. He's going to the $10,000 to $15,000 a year private schools. That's where Abbott's going. And then when we look at the fiscal note, we look at how many private schools are going to get one of these ESA coupons. Where are they at? Tiny private schools. So they're going to stock that. So then where do I go? Where do I go? I can only afford the low tuition private school. That's all I can afford. I can't afford the $25,000. And then if the tuition goes up 12%, 18%, 18% is the main number throughout the nation that your tuition raises the first year. That's $2,000 a year for me. I can't afford that. So if your tuition is going to go up, then where are you going to go? Where's your option? If you can't do your home public school, you can't do your charter schools, you don't want to homeschool, or you can't homeschool, whatever your reason is, where are you going to go? If you don't have that, you need this money. And so that's the second key of globalism. This is really, really dangerous, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
It's not conspiracy theory anymore, it's conspiracy platform.
Yes, sir.
I greatly appreciate everything you're doing, and you mentioned even the first page of globalism, which is what, as I'm reading this, is exactly what it does. It does have a state mandated curriculum in this bill. And it's funny because every time they introduce something, it's always, I don't know if I call it gaslighting politics. It's all the way out. This is the exact opposite of school choice.
Yes.
Because there are 30 states in here that the five different groups that will be five vendors that nobody knows who they are or what they're about. Those five vendors will have the opportunity to make even homeschool parents say, "Well, send your curriculum for them. You will get an assessment." And you
Homeschool doesn't have an assessment, that's when we took it out.
Well, that's
For the first writing, not the House bill, the Senate bill. Senate bill has a requirement for an assessment for homeschool. The House bill, they took it out.
okay, then I stay corrected. I was looking at the House bill. I did a quick read, so obviously you got a lot more about this as well.
I've already read about that. It's hard for homeschool for the House bill. They made it really confusing because they used a particular education code to say who has to take the assessment, whereas the Senate language is very, very clear. And so you reading it that way, I read it that way the first time too. And then you have to click on each of the codes that's in the bill to see where it goes with it. But it's not a requirement for homeschool right now. It is for private school. And then for homeschool, you can only use pre-approved vendors. So like a backup curriculum, Saxon, those are the two most popular homeschool curriculums. They're registered to do business in the state of Florida, not Texas, so therefore you can't use them here. So you may get your $2,000 coupon for homeschool, but your biggest expense is going to be your curriculum. And and if you have a curriculum that you love, or you have classical conversations, which is not going to be an approved vendor, they have said so, and you really like that, then you can't use your money there. But you can use it for karate, or horseback riding lessons, or in Florida, you can buy Disney World tickets, because they say that is something that is approved. So, sorry.
Hold on, thank you for clarifying that. Now, on top of that, they apparently have the ability, there's all this stuff that you could kick out of the program for, except for the final one, which says, or controller system.
Yeah.
So you can jump into this, read everything, and then have the full rug out underneath you, and you can get it forever.
Well, and if we lose the governor's seat, if we lose the House and the Senate and the Democrats are in control, and they decide to undo the program, thank you, and they decide to undo the program, and you are dependent upon this ESA, and you just moved your kid, and we're talking about children here. I don't want this program to start, but I also don't want a child to get into a school and it be working for them, and then the government change and it end the program, and it takes it away from them. Or there was the previous bills, if you didn't score well enough on the STAR 2 times and you failed it, you lost your coupon. And then you had to go back into the public school. And so we grew a pretty good bit about that one, and so that was taken out. So it's like little fists that me and my mom friends keep throwing. They're taking things out, and they're hearing us about okay, this one really upset the people, so we're going to fix this. But they're still leaving the meat and potatoes. And so we go after low-hanging fruit because it's easy and it gets people's buy-in. So when I tell you guys that illegals can take a coupon, that's a real quick buy-in from this entire room of Republicans. It's like, no, you don't want that. And so whatever you were thinking about school choice, that's what the low-hanging fruit is, but it's still the meat and potatoes that I'm still completely against this. Because it's not conservative and it doesn't match our plan. That's another thing. Yes.
Are the Democrats for this or against it?
They're against every single one.
So why don't we do Operation Chaos like those? It's for the Democrats to vote against it to get this deal.
So the Democrats don't have the numbers in the House.
No, we gotta get buy-in from a certain number.
Yeah, and that's the problem that we have right now is, you know,
That's the devil against it so we can kill the bill.
I mean, the thing is, the Democrats that I talked to about this, they have pushed for politics in our public schools, absolutely, you know, for high stand stuff, they absolutely have, but they're realizing what we're about to lose in our public schools. And most of our elected officials, most of our parents, most of you guys in here, y'all were developed from your public school, and it made you what you are. My dad was extremely poor. He had a outhouse. My grandmother actually had to give two of my uncles the Leah Pope home, which was an orphanage at the time, until she could afford to go get them back because my dad had polio. And they were a very, very poor family. And he went to Fort Worth ISD and he graduated from high school. And all three of her boys were millionaires, so was my grandmother, in their lifetime, and they made something of themselves, and they did that through public education. So the Democrats are seeing this, and they're seeing that we're about to lose our public school. And so Virginia Hinojosa and James Talarico, which is extremely liberal Democrat, he's actually gone after me before in committee hearings. And now he sees me in the Capitol, and he's like, your tweets are fire, I don't agree with everything that you say, they're awesome. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And how different from just a few years ago, whenever he said he would never talk to me and he would never meet to me, so I was a bully to LGBTQ children. I didn't do anything to him. It was just because I was a Republican that he said that. They realized, and I'm not talking about the people that are around here, I'm talking about people that are in the House. They realize how far things have gone, and they're at the point where they're like, okay, mercy, like, we'll stop. And so there is a bill called HB 5419, and it's authored by Gina Hinojosa. It is a conservative bill. It matches two of our planks on the Republican Party platform. A Democrat wrote a true conservative Republican bill because she worked with two of my friends in getting this bill done. And you can watch the exchange in a committee hearing of my two friends talking to her, and then she said, can I talk to y'all? And she wrote this bill, and it's to judge the TEA.
Yep.
And so, I don't know why anybody would get upset about it. Republicans should not be on board with this. It is a Republican bill. And Gina didn't put one bit of slant to this bill, not one, because she knew where we're at and what we have to do. And so when you guys do talk to Helen, she should be putting her name on that one. If the Department of Education 5419, Hinojosa. If we are going to be eliminating the Department of Education and sending money back to the states, it's going to be going to the TEA. In Gina's bill, it says any money that goes back into the TEA, they don't get to keep any of it. They gotta send it to our schools. It's our money. They don't get to cut, 80%, 30%, 5% off the top for them for admins. They have to send it. And so Gina put all of the links, and it's really great. I don't know who signed on to this one, Jimmy. Little's on it? Mitch, that's who's on the little, on 419. Well, that's good that he did that. Mitch Little has a great staffer that is also one of our SRECs, Rachel Burton. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're extremely active in Holmes campaign. Extremely.
I remember you.
Extremely disappointed in her now. We see which way she's going with this, no matter what. You gave us some language a few minutes ago, but do you know anybody who, if we could drop a name of somebody who's running against her?
Jane Burns. I believe that Dwayne is going to be running again. I cannot believe that he made great votes when he was in the seat. I don't think that he was representing you guys when he was in that seat.
Nope.
But if he is going to be coming back, then this is the time that you guys now have to buy in with him, and you should be talking to him. If there's somebody that's going to have the money and name to go against Helen, I don't know, this is y'all's community, you don't have to tell me who else has it, but if it's going to be joining, you should be talking to him now, and you should be trying to educate him on what she's like, because we form our elected officials. I don't think threatening her with Dwayne is going to really do too terribly much. I just think telling her that you're going to work against her. You're going to be talking about her, and she's going to be homeless. So, in the city of Fort Worth, we have Betsy Price, who's a total liberal, and she was pretending to be a Republican, and she did the gay pride parade in Fort Worth. That's not a Republican.
Yeah.
And so she was homeless. She can't come to any Republican meeting. She doesn't come to my DC ever when she's running for something. Maggie Parker also doesn't come to Republican events either. That's what I'm saying when they're homeless. Where are they going to go? Could Helen come here and talk to everybody if she votes for this or if she does other bad votes? Is she going to have a warm welcome? I know this isn't a group for Dwayne Burns, because he actually told me, he's like, oh, it's a really hard people. And of the group, so that's good for you guys for being that way. But they need to have a place to go. And if they don't have a place to go when they're campaigning to spread their message, that hurts. And in a rural area, that really hurts. So you're going to have to let her know that things are going to be inhospitable to her.
Right.
Yes.
But even if Burns runs again, what's going to keep him from doing the same thing he did last time, which is just flip flopping and doing exactly what he said he wasn't going to do.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing about the 21 that voted against this last time, there was people that were telling me, you gotta get on social media and you have to defend them. No. They made a whole bunch of other votes, and then they wanted to vote for the wrong reason. None of them talked about the issues that I talked about. All we talked about was the public school, because their relationship with the superintendent and with the staff that works there, and they thought that those votes were going to carry them. And that's all that they talked about. They weren't talking about why it's not conservative, why this isn't good for the people, why it doesn't match our platform, our principles, our preamble, our plan, absolutely nothing. And I actually wanted Dwayne to come here tonight so that he could find out what the truth was about this, and he could not come. But but I really wanted him to, because we have to educate them. They don't know what we don't tell them. And so, do I trust somebody that has lost and got money in and did bad things? No, but what other options do you have in holding people accountable? Yes, ma'am.
For the small private schools, what is the approach to them? Because they're not want the money. So how do you convince them not to take the vouchers?
I don't know how many parents still wants the money. I know that Joshua Christian
came.
Yeah.
There was about 8 of them that came and reported.
I think that some of you that live out here that have children should probably go do a tour. And you should ask them, do they plan on being a vendor? So when I toured my private school, it was the first question before we looked in a classroom, before we walked past the office. I said, hold up. If vouchers pass, and oh, no, we're not. And I was like, oh, no, let me finish my question. Are you going to be taking them? And like, no, we're not. We think it's really dangerous. And I said, great, me too. We can go ahead. And so I know where my private school stands. Trinity Christian, Abbott came and did one there that's kind of a East Fort Worth area. None of the parents in the audience, and FYI, he's not filling the rooms anymore. And I do love that. There's so many empty chairs at these Abbott events. And the parents that were in the room, those are non-Trinity Christian parents. You could look around the room and you can see that. And Trinity Christian was a school that when I was in school, we played them a lot. And that was my second choice in private school instead of thinking Nazarene. And so I don't know if they actually do, and I don't know if their parents are going to be for it. If that is the way that they're going to go, because if this whole row here is in private school, you're all in the same grade, and you're the coupon kid, can they single you out and say, okay, you go down there and take your assessment, and everybody else still gets instruction that day, and you just get behind? No, they can't do that. All of you have to take the assessment. So as soon as your school becomes a recipient of the ESA, it changes for all students, not just the students that are going to get the money. And so that some private schools, they're already doing assessment. My private school does not. And so then it would be all of you are going to do the assessment like you've always done. Your mama has to send it to the state. And so that would be the difference. So it's going to be dependent upon each private school. I wish that I had enough time to go to every single private school. And
like the STAR test, because
it's a national norm reference test on this one.
Have you seen the STAR test? Has anybody ever seen the STAR test?
I'll take kids out of the STAR, and I always have. And so you can opt out of STAR, you can opt out of surveys, you can opt out of the medical test, you can opt out of all kinds of stuff in public school. You can't opt out of this in the bill. But in the previous bills, it was a STAR.
But they make you take the STAR, like so that's what's going to happen. You're going to have some stupid test like that. We can't even figure it out. I'm teaching 4th and 5th grade right now, not because I wanted to. I'm retired and just ended up doing that. Literally, I can't figure out the 4th and 5th grade questions in the math book. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'll just teach how to do long division and multiply and stuff like that. The questions are crazy.
Because they're subjective. And their thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and beliefs. And so that's what's in the STAR test. They're not actually testing our kids. If you look at the STAR test results, our kids are doing absolutely horrible. If you look at the NAEP scores, which is the MAP scores, that's an assessment that's done throughout the entire nation, we're number 8 in the nation. And I don't think most people understand that. Florida is number 2. We're 2 points behind Florida. And for the states that have improved, there's 8 states in the nation that have improved their ratings, and we're one of them. And we don't have this third lane of education like some of the other states do have, and we're not having to fund that. And so I think that that's really telling how great our teachers are actually doing in the classroom with the students. I thank you for being a teacher. Do we have bad teachers? Yes. Do we have bad dentists and doctors and plumbers and pastors and yes, they're everywhere. But the majority just want to teach your kid. They may have their politics, but they just want to teach your kid. And I'm tired of vilifying all teachers as a whole, as the Republican Party is doing. And I do believe that teachers are pissed about all of this that's going on. And if Abbott loses and we go blue, it's because he went against our teachers. And our teachers in our rural areas, I mean, come on, our rural areas are totally voting Republican. I got put on the private page of conservative teachers, and you have to be a conservative teacher. You have to show your voting record. Everybody that's on the group is a teacher but me. You can't search for the group, and I'm the only person to know it. You ever tell it's you, I'm not going to tell. And so I just get to read what these teachers say. They're going to walk. They're going to spend their spring break walking. They're going to take their kids out and they're going to do that. They're going to work really hard because they're so upset about their profession just completely being gutted. And everything that they're doing is what they're trying to do for the next generation, for our future. And it's just being poo-pooed on by the Republican Party and by Abbott. And I'm going to say the Republican Party because that's where all of us are, but it's really is by Abbott. Do we have public schools that have a problem? Yes. Godly. I'm going to look straight at you. Yes. Do we have superintendents that are horrible? Yes, Rich Deere. He is a Marxist. We've got former superintendents in Fort Worth ISD that are absolutely awful. But the majority of our public schools are doing a good job, and we wouldn't be number 8. And whenever we're looking at where kids can read, if you say that they're mastering, you probably think they're getting an A, right? Or at least a B. It's not. It's like a D. If you're looking at the grades from masters, And so it's how they're changing the star, how they're grading it and manipulating it, and who's in control of the star? Abbott and TEA. Who appoints the TEA? Abbott.
Yep.
Who did he put in that spot? Maya Rack. How much education experience does he have? No, not 0. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Come on, Georgia, give him those 6 weeks. And he was a substitute teacher, and so he is now in that seat.
Is that what they mean when they call it, I slept at a Motel 6 last night?
Do what?
Is that what they mean when they say I slept at a Motel 6?
I slept at a Holiday Inn Express.
And so you're what?
Yeah, that old commercial. Like, are you a doctor? No, but I slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Any other questions? Okay, wrap it up. Okay, all right, we're good. All right, thank you guys.
You got her email, her phone number, her address. Okay, big thing. Besides the that, right, telling her in the letter, saying, no. We told you about that when we came to our meeting. We told you you were having something. Prove us wrong. Don't do it. All right. Thank you guys for coming, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.